quantity wise, take yourself a selection of lures, but I mean, as in with all Sportquest camps, you can purchase anything when you're there, and you know, they're quite reasonably priced. Most of the time they're on par with UK prices. And then, you know, when you get your tutorial on a boat, or if you're on a hosted trip, you know, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're going as a group together, you know, you get your tutorial on a boat. The first thing I would do is, once you switch your electronics on, is on the GPS or sounder, is see what the people have been doing the week before you. Some camps will wipe it every week, but if it's been left on, zoom out and see where the tracks are going and see where the people have been fishing the week before. So then you can say, well, you know, there's a lot of tracks over that area, a lot of tracks that area, and it gives you an idea of where the fish have been caught. And then also on a lot of the GPSs, you'll see a fixed mark, red dot, and it's probably got a few numbers written alongside it, like 153 or 178. Some people like to log where they fit some nice big halibut and the lengths of the halibut, and that's what those numbers represent. This is, you know, it's 178 centimeters or so on. So, you know, have a look at that first day and see, you know, try and judge where people have been going and where people have been fishing, you know. It's also like a handy little get you started tip. But there's also guides on all of the camps that will give you this information your first morning. You know, they'll tell you where people have been fishing, what they've been catching, you know, when's a good time to go and all that kind of stuff. Another little tip for you is, you know, if you're finding it a little bit slow, fish aren't feeding very well, these smaller lures come into play a bit more, because if the fish are off the feed, you know, they're off the feed, but zooming one of these past their noses, because they're relatively quite small, and you know, they've got good action in the water. Even the laziest cod will do, you know, well, that's just like, that's easy, and just grab it. And you know, at times where things get a little bit slow in between the feeding times, you can still, you know, you can still pull a nice one out here and there by using these slightly smaller lures. I don't fish perks much anymore, but occasionally, you know, if you find a shoal of fish and you're dropping your bigger lures down and you're getting a tap, 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 but you're not actually hooking anything, it's probably a good indication that it's a shoal of small cullfish. So what I would do then is I would swap over to a fast dropping perk with the sister hook at the top and the small treble on the bottom. Drop it into the shoal and just wait to, because with this you will pick up the small cullfish, 1.5, 2 pounders or whatever they are. Once you can feel that it's on the end, a bit like a mackerel, don't wind it up, drop it to the bottom and just bring it back up off the bottom a few turns and leave it there. Because 9 out of 10 times we've had some really good fish where the bigger cod are actually just sitting underneath that shoal and they're just wandering around, and then you drop one of these hooked cullfish down and, you know, we've hit cod 30-40 pounders just by literally finding the shoals of small cullfish, dropping these in, hook the small cullfish, drop it back down to the bottom, bring it up a little bit, bang. You know, you'll never see the cullfish, it just disappears, but you know, with the hooks on there, you will bring the cod in. And you know, it's a good little tip if you can't, you know, if you find in these smaller shoals of cullfish, don't rule it out and try this method, and you know, it can bring some bigger fish in through it. It's pretty much as simple as that. You know, you can just keep on changing things and finding your own methods and see what works at the time. And you know, fish feed in different ways at different times of the year when you're there, or something's working better, some colors are working better, but generally, you know, that's all you need to take. So from a terminal tackle point of view, I take this small box of bits and pieces here, and then I've got this little small, and that is it. This is the entire contents of what I take for terminal tackle. Lures is another story, but you know, if you can be hiding them in your suitcases. If you're taking a rod tube, a good tip is to actually put some lures in the bottom of your rod tube before your rods go in, and I wrap them up in a cloth and tape them. So it's like a block of lures in the bottom of the rod tube, and they don't slide about then and damage your rods, you know, in transit, because that tube is allowed to be 20 kilos in weight. So, you know, your rods don't weigh that much. So stick a few lures into the bottom of your rod tube. Gets, you know, so you can take a few more and get your weight distribution a bit better. But generally, you know, it's simple as that. You know, don't overcomplicate it. And you know, and of course, you know, if you've got any questions when you're there, just ask the guys. The guys, the resident people, the people who own the camp, or the guys that work there all year. They're all there to help, and you know, take it from there. So hopefully, if you get to go on a trip soon, I hope it all works out well for you. Cheers.